Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde, and today we are sharing our thoughts on who should be the future of the Chicago Bears. A lot of expiring contracts on this roster coming up in this upcoming offseason. Whoever the Bears' next general manager is, whether that be Ryan Pace or someone else, has their work cut out for them and a lot of decisions to make. But before we begin, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Stupid Car Tray. Tired of your pizza topping sliding, office coffee distracting you while driving, grease and other stains getting on your seat, or you're just enjoying a game on the couch and don't want to lean over? Look no further than the Stupid Car Tray. Visit www.stupidcartray.com, link in the description. Make sure you select 2 classic trays at checkout before you go to checkout and put in code BOGOMENOW, BOGO me now, to get buy one, get one free on 2 classic trays. Great for the holidays, fast shipping. Your order is sent out within 24 hours of your order being placed. Let's get into it. Let's start with the offense. The expiring contracts of the current Chicago Bears offense go as follows: Allen Robinson, Jakeem Grant, Marquise Goodwin, Damiere Byrd, Jesper Horsted, Jimmy Graham, Andy Dalton, James Daniels, Jermaine Ifedi, Jason Peters, Sam Mustipher, Jesse James, Elijah Wilkinson, Damian Williams, JP Holtz, and Alex Bars. And there are only 2 players on that list that are 25 and under on the Chicago Bears offense with expiring contracts, and that is James Daniels, Sam Mustipher. So let's go to the defense real fast. The expiring contracts on the defense are Akien Hicks, Joel Ibuniwe, Bilal Nichols, Tashaun Gipson Sr, Dion Bush, Kristen Jones, DeAndre Houston Carson, Alec Olgetree, Artie Burns, Marquis Christian, Jalen Tabor, and Xavier Crawford. Now, there's only 3 players on that entire list that are under 25 years old. Number 1, Bilal Nichols, 25 years old. Number 2, Xavier Crawford, 25 years old. And Jalen Tabor, 25 years old. So there are a lot of contracts on the Chicago Bears that are expiring after this season. There are some pretty big names in there like Allen Robinson, Akien Hicks, Bilal Nichols, Alec Olgetree. Overall, just a lot of names that we're used to as starters that have been an impact on this team for the last couple of years. And there's a lot of decisions to be made whether you keep them or not. A lot of them are aging. A lot of them are going to want a lot of money like Allen Robinson. And a lot of them just might not want to be here. Also, Allen Robinson. So who are we wanting to keep? Tony, unfortunately, is having internet troubles right now, but he did send this video in for his takes. So here's Tony's takes.
What's up, guys? Having a little trouble with my internet, so I got to do it this. Nick will put this in later. So who I would keep on offense is, hot take coming in, Jimmy Graham, only for the veteran minimum, not for another big deal. I think he can mentor Cole Kmet. I really do. You know, he used to be arguably the best, one of the best tight ends, you know, of all time for a short period of time, at least the most athletic. Obviously, he didn't have the consistent statistical career to back up best of all time. But there was a point where people thought this could be the guy. Andy Dalton, just as a backup for cheaper than whatever we signed him for this year. What was it, about $10 million? So there's worse backups to have. But, you know, he seems like a good guy. I'm sure Justin Fields is getting along with him. He's Justin Fields' biggest fan. Why not keep him around? James Daniels. I love James Daniels. I'm heavily biased towards James Daniels. I loved him at Iowa. I think he's good too. And he also absolutely manhandled Aaron Donald at one time. So keep him around, especially if we're going to overhaul the entire offensive line. We need a couple guys that have been there, done that. And Jesse James is my last. Him and Justin Fields have a connection already. If that goes away for some reason, or now he chooses to work more with Cole Kmet in the future, and Jesse James kind of goes by the wayside, then we can get him out of here. But we can re-sign him for cheap. Justin Fields is happy. I'm happy. That's who I think we should keep. On defense is Bilal Nichols. Akien Hicks is probably going to be up out of here. Eddie Goldman, well, he's been playing better. He's back, of course. What his future holds, obviously, he's semi-retired already, and, you know, it's just not certain. So, Bilal Nichols, you got to keep him around. Again, I know he's made some mistakes. I know he got ejected from that one game, but that's a guy I think you got to resign. Unless he wants some crazy deal, crazy contract, but I think you got to keep him around. Dion Bush, I like Dion Bush. I think Dion Bush is fun. You know, he's a good depth guy. I think he... You know, obviously, there's a reason he's not a starter, but at the same time, I think that he plays his role well, and I think it's all you can ask for out of a guy like that. So I say keep him around. Alec Olgetree is my third. I think that with Danny Trevathan definitely on the back end of his career, probably going to be done soon. You got to have a guy. I'm not saying this is a permanent solution. You know, you need a guy that's going to fill in for him, especially whether it's next year or even 2 years down the road, who knows, until you can find that permanent solution to play next to Roquan Smith. I like Alec Olgetree. He makes the Bears work. He makes them, you know, seems to be a good leader in the locker room, especially on defense. So my last one is Jalen Tabor. Why not? Keep him around. He's a young guy, 25. Yes, I understand we're going to overhaul the whole system and and all that. But might as well keep a couple of guys around, give them a chance to earn their spot for the future. And if not, sign him to a 1-2 year deal and get rid of him if you have to. So that's what I got. Back to you, Nick.
I know a lot of people might not like the Jimmy Graham comment, but that's what Tony thinks. I can't disagree too much on that. I wouldn't mind him coming back on an absolute veterans minimum, like $1 million, but it is what it is. And Jimmy Graham might retire anyway. So who knows, but put your comments below on what you think if the Bears should bring back Jimmy Graham on a veterans minimum or not. Now let's go to my takes really fast. I'll start with the offensive side of the ball. Number one, James Daniels, 24 years old, strong interior lineman for the Bears, has a lot of experience for only being 24 years old. Can be pretty cheap considering that he hasn't made any Pro Bowls. He hasn't had any big recognitions. And overall, he could be a big building part for the offensive line moving forward. A young veteran is always valuable, and especially a guy who's pretty good like James Daniel. Number two, I'm going with Jesse James, not Jimmy Graham. I'm going with Jesse James. I like Jesse James because he has a great connection with Justin Fields. He's a fast tight end. Overall, he's been a really good pickup for the Chicago Bears so far. And he's a strong veteran that's going to also help build Cole Kmet if Jimmy Graham were to leave or not to re-sign with the Chicago Bears. So those are my two on offense. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. On defense, number one is pretty obvious for me. Bilal Nichols, I'm a huge fan of him. He's only 25 years old. You potentially have Akien Hicks leaving the Chicago Bears after this year, whether it be retiring, whether it be free agency, whether it be a sign-in trade. Overall, the Bears need a guy that's going to be able to replace him, and Eddie Goldman sure can. And also you need now a new replacement for Eddie Goldman, which come in Bilal Nichols. Late round pick, could be a cheaper contract. Overall, not too big of a cap hit for a strong, impactful player like him. I like him a lot. He's familiar with the defense, and I would love for the Chicago Bears to bring him back. My second one, DeAndre Houston Carson. He has been a great special teams guy for the Chicago Bears over the last couple of years. He's also a great leader for the Bears. He has a lot of experience with this defense, and he stepped up when Tashaun Gipson Sr. was injured, so could be a good replacement for him moving forward. You never know, but I really like DeAndre Houston Carson, and we've always signed him to pretty cheap contracts, so would like to bring him back for that reason. My third one, I have a lot more defensive ones, by the way, so sorry about that. But my third one, Alec Olgetree. He has been a great pickup this year, especially with the absence of Danny Trevathan. He's a strong player on a veteran's minimum, great mentor to Roquan Smith, and he's a leader. He's been very impactful in the NFL, and if he can continue to progress or stay at least at the same level he's at moving forward, he could be a great replacement until Ryan Pace drafts the next Roquan Smith again. Number four, Tashaun Gipson Sr. Now, he might leave for sure because he took another cheap contract this year with the Chicago Bears. He's only signed for like a 2-year, $2.5 million contract if you think about it. 2 contracts, both 1 year. They've added up to $2.5 million. So Tashaun Gipson Sr. has played here for cheap and performed pretty well. So I like bringing him back. He's a strong leader for the secondary. He can help build up potentially a younger safety that isn't DeAndre Houston Carson. So DeAndre Houston Carson can focus on special teams. Overall, I like Tashaun Gipson Sr. a lot. Next, Deon Bush. I like Deon Bush a lot. Another great leader for this team, has been around the Bears organization for a long time. Could sign him for cheap. Another strong special teams player and a great depth guy on defense. Then Joel Ibuniwe, great leader, great locker room presence, awesome last name, obviously. He's a fan favorite. He interacts with a lot of people on Twitter. If you can sign this guy to a cheap contract so he's just on special teams or a depth player, would be a great guy to bring back. And he's pretty young too. Finally, Jalen Tabor. Now, a lot of people don't know about him, but he has been going in and out of safety and cornerback, like in a weird rotation over the last couple of weeks. And he's performed pretty well. He almost had an interception against the San Francisco 49ers. He's a ball hawk, and he kind of looks like Bryce Callahan, like the way he's built, the way he walks on the field. So I see a lot of potential with him. If you can get him on another cheap contract, why not keep him around? He's familiar with the defense, and he could be a strong player. So that's it. I would build my team with the expiring contracts this year, get a lot of cap back, bring back some of these guys on veteran minimums or smaller contracts, pay James Daniels, pay Bilal Nichols, and then overall just keep building this team. I don't know about Sam Mustipher right now. He's had a pretty rough year, but if you were to turn around the second half, I would consider bringing him back. But overall, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago.